Hi, this is Julian for Production Expert, and I've been using the Audified RZ062 equalizer. This is a model of an old Siemens valve equalizer, and it's slightly quirky in its presentation, but I should say there are two versions of it. There's the A and the B. We're looking at the A here, and most elements are common to both, so we'll go through the common elements first, and then we'll refer to the differences. It's a two-channel equalizer. It can operate in left, right, or mid-side mode. You can link or unlink the channels, and you've got separate input and output level controls for each channel. And if you drive it hard, obviously you get some corresponding harmonic distortion, which can sound really nice. The filter section has a high and a low shelf filter in both cases. The high shelf boosts 12 dB or cuts by 18. The low shelf boosts by 12 or cuts by 20. But they don't really have corner frequencies as such. The greater the boost or cut, the further down into the mid-range or up into the mid-range, the filter affects. So, for example, a small boost of maybe 4 dB on the high-frequency shelf won't extend very far down. It'll be the other side of 10K, whereas if you're boosting by 12 dB, it'll be coming right the way down towards kind of, 2K or something. But the difference between the two versions lies in the mid-control. The A version that we're looking at here has what can best be described as a tilt control for the mid-range. So if you think in terms of the angle of the mid-range control is actually a pretty good visual indication of what the filter's doing. In this case, for example, what we're doing is we're tipping up the bottom end and pulling down the top end, whereas this way would be pulling up the top end and pulling down the bottom end. The center frequency is around 650 Hertz, and here we've got it on a piano. So let's have a listen to this on a piano and see what it does. We've got a little bit of a treble lift wound in here. And with this set flat, if we wind it up, we can bring in more thickness and sort of low end. Whereas this way it gets thinner and brighter. Around about here was working for me. Bottom end, well, we can look at that on the drums. Let's bring in something else. We've got a bass guitar which hasn't got this EQ on it, so I'll bring that in. But let's bring in some drums, and this is running on the B version, which has the different mid-range equalizer. So what this is a presence filter. We've got 4 different frequency ranges, 1.4K, 2K, 2.8K, and 4K. It's boost only with 6 different degrees of boost. So for example, if I want to wind in a heavy boost at 1.4K, there it'd be 6 at 1.4. A moderate boost at 4K would be maybe 3 at 4K. So let's have a listen to what that sounds like on these drums. And it's quite nice. What we start to hear is an effect on the drums, particularly on the snare drum. So at 1.4K, boost that up, which is a markedly different sound to, for example, 4K, which is much more snare. More of the rattle there compared to the bang. Maybe if we lose that piano. So, a little bit of a treble lift maybe, bring in some bottom end, very puffy kick drum now. Let's have a look at the equalizer on the master, and here we can really hear what's happening at the top end. It's very sweet, it's very difficult to make it sound harsh, even on this quite tishy hi-hats. Going perhaps a little far. Lots of crack on the snare there, compared to maybe a little more fizz over here. I'm thinking over there was quite good actually. And maybe pull out a little bit of bottom end. And if we compare toggling all 3 in and out, so that was a quick tour around the Audified RZ062 equalizer. What did I think of it? It's really sweet. It's nice and warm sounding and overdrives nicely. The only downside that I've noticed on it is that you do have to be careful with your gain structure, because if you don't drive this hard enough, then there is a certain element of noise floor that can get in the way. A lot of these analog emulation plugins do demand that we do pay more attention to gain structure, whereas if we're running purely digital, we can take advantage of a floating point environment and do pretty much what we like. It's not really the case on this one. You do need to bring up the levels up towards the top to really get the best performance out of this. But apart from that, it's a nice character plugin that sounds really good. I'd probably use it on buses or definitely on the master because the top end is very sweet and the bottom end's got a nice round character. Surprisingly flexible, especially considering the difference in filter shapes between the mid-range equalizer and the shelves when they get down to heavy amounts of boost down towards the mid-range. They've got very different shapes and can give markedly different results.